What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel. And before I get started with this video, I want to send a quick apology for the lack of videos in the past week. Well, apart from the absolute disaster that was the podcast Saturday night, where the internet just kept wanting to crap out on me. Apart from that, other than 2 Twitch streams this week, haven't posted anything on YouTube, and that was largely because the gas tank was on empty for me. Like, I just didn't have any great ideas in mind for videos. And also, I was battling a cold. I still kinda am, but I'm like 85% better. I'm pretty much right there. I'm in the long stretch with becoming 100% again. So, just the only issue I have now is just my nose still a little bit stuffed up. It's not runny anymore, which is good. But I felt like I felt good enough to do a video today, and this is the 14th CD collection update. Over the past month, I've gotten a pretty good stack. I'm actually also currently working on my next stack for update number 15. So I've got a pretty good amount of albums here, and we're going to go through them all, kicking things off, getting closer to getting all of the decent to great albums from Black Sabbath. I got Cross Purposes. Now, pretty much the Tony Martin era, it's a mixed bag for a lot of people. There are a group of people that love the Tony Martin stuff. Then there are the group of people that don't care for it. While this one would probably be my second from last in terms of the Tony Martin stuff. Like, we all know the last one is forbidden, not just for Tony Martin, but for all of Black Sabbath. But this one being in the second to last category isn't bad. It's actually a good album. It's actually a pretty good album. Some cool tracks like Cross of Thorns, Psychophobia, Virtual Death, Cardinal Sin. There's some really good songs on this album. And yeah, it definitely gets overlooked because not only with it being a Tony Martin album, but it had to follow one of their best with Dehumanizer 2 years prior. But Cross Purposes, if you've slept on the Tony Martin stuff, I'd say check out all the Tony Martin stuff, except Forbidden. That album should not be checked out by anybody. But yeah, Cross Purposes. Then we get a pair from the same band, as I am currently working on trying to get all of the albums from this all-time legendary band, and that is, of course, Bolt Thrower. And we got 2 completely different albums. We got Realm of Chaos and Those Once Loyal. But starting with Realm of Chaos, like, obviously this is the alternate cover, not the original cover. I knew that one was going to be kind of impossible to get cheap or in decent shape. But they're both equally cool, the covers. But this one with Realm of Chaos, I mean, 1989, right at the beginning of death metal's history, and Bolt Thrower just come out swinging with a heavy, heavy album. Arguably one of the heaviest guitar tones of all time. Despite the fact that the guitars did get a little bit buried during the blast beat sections, the songs top to bottom kill. Songs like Eternal War, Through the Eye of Terror, starting off with one of the heaviest riffs of all time. All That Remains, Plague Bearer, World Eater, the title track, Prophet of Hatred, Drowned in Torment. I could go on with the songs on this album. I mean, 1989, their first album on Earache, and it's one of the most important early death metal albums, period. And then the other one with their final album, Those Once Loyal, I mean, on Metal Blade Records this time. And this one's kind of weird because on the back you can see there's a punch hole through the barcode, which is kind of weird. But apart from that, it was in great shape. I got it for a pretty good price. And what a way to close out the career of Bolt Thrower. I mean, the kill chain alone off of this album is just one of the best Bolt Thrower songs of all time, and one of the best Bolt Thrower albums. Like, I know eventually I'm going to get to rank Bolt Thrower albums, so I'm not going to reveal where I'm going to be ranking all of them, just in case later in the year I decide to do a Bolt Thrower ranking. Hell, that could be in the next poll, because I know for sure the next ranking I'm going to do here in a couple of weeks is going to be for Bathory. So who knows? We'll see what happens. But yeah, Those Once Loyal, hell of a way to close out Bolt Thrower's career. Great album. Now, the next several here, actually the next 5, are all Cannibal Corpse, because I am actually currently working on finally completing the Cannibal Corpse discography, and let's start from the top. We got Butchered at Birth. I've been wanting to get this album for a long time, but it just always kept slipping past my mind to get it until recently, and, I mean, yeah, the production on this album's a bit of an issue, but the songs themselves are great, like Meat Hook Sodomy, Covered with Sores, Vomit the Soul, Rancid Amputation. Top to bottom, it's brilliant. Despite the production being a little bit blah, still, fucking fantastic stuff. Now, this one, I had been wanting to get for a long time, and trying to get a cheap copy in good shape, with the original cover, not just the zoomed in on the guy's face. We got Vile. I've been wanting to get Vile for a long time, because this, I'll go ahead and say, this is one of my personal favorite Cannibal Corpse albums. I know it doesn't rank high among a lot of fans of Cannibal Corpse, and I don't get why. This is in my opinion, one of Cannibal's best albums. Corpse Grinder's debut, I mean, Devoured by Vermin, Perverse Suffering, Mummified and Barbed Wire, Bloodlands, Puncture Wound Massacre. Just, I can't find any real complaints about this album. I don't get the reputation it gets, but still, I absolutely love it. Excuse me. Then we got Bloodthirst, 1999, Colin Richardson production, and wow, super aggressive, a little bit on the cleaner side in terms of production, but it didn't matter. These songs whoop ass, like Pounded into Dust, Unleashing the Bloodthirsty, Spine Splitter, Blowtorch Slaughter. Just, where do they come up with some of these song titles? I swear to God. Coffin Feeder, you know what? I bet there's already a band out there called Coffin Feeder, and if there is, I'll be disappointed. But yeah, Bloodthirst. Then we get the follow-up, Gore Obsessed. And yes, I got the actual album cover, not the censored version. And that's kind of been the thing that I was trying to do with trying to get these Cannibal Corpse albums, is get the uncensored covers. I'll just go ahead and say that the only one I'm missing, I pretty much got the rest coming in the next update, as of right now, except for Gallery of Suicide, because that one's proven to be a bitch to find a good condition copy with the original cover. I might end up having to bite the bullet and get the censored cover, which the censored cover looks great, it's just not as great as the uncensored cover. But anyways, with Gore Obsessed, yeah, this one would probably rank a little bit lower for me, but still really good. I mean, Savage Butchery, Pit of Zombies, Dormant Bodies Bursting, Compelled to Lacerate. Fucking really cool stuff here. And then the final one of the best in the discography, Kill. Need I say more? I mean, Make Them Suffer, Murder Worship, 5 Nails Through the Neck, Death Walking Terror, Infinite Misery. What else can I say? Alright, so now to some singles. Next up, we got kind of a rare one to get unless you buy it from overseas, and that is Convulse World Without God. This is the 2022 Svart Records reissue, expanded edition of the, or extended edition of the album, which has the album as well as their Resuscitation of Evilness demo that came out the year before the album actually came out. And one of the most underrated death metal albums of all time is Convulse World Without God. It's like, kind of like the more raw, more finished version of bands like Broken Hope and Cannibal Corpse, because it's brutal as fuck. Like, you could argue this could be a brutal death metal album, because there are some cool breakdowns, low guttural vocals. It's just gross sounding. If you've never listened to Convulse World Without God, I suggest checking this album out. You will not be disappointed. It's badass. I could do a retro review of this album at some point, but yeah, fucking fantastic stuff. Next up, as far as getting closer to completing another discography, and that's Evil, I got 5 Serpent's Teeth from 2011. Of course, the big song we all remember this album for is the Ballad in Memoriam, which is a beautiful song, one of the best balladish tracks of all time, at least in the modern age of metal. But there's some fucking thrashy barn burners on here, like In Dreams of Terror, Cult, Centurion, Origin of Oblivion, Long Live Nude Flesh? Wow. New Flesh. Jesus Christ. I'm still out of it from last night's stream where just a lot of comedy happened, but I digress. But yeah, 5 Serpent's Teeth, really cool album. Next up, another thrasher piece, and actually one of the big thrasher pieces of the late 80s, Exodus Fabulous Disaster. So now I've got the first 3 Exodus albums. I do plan on getting more Exodus albums eventually. It's just I'm into like other bands more than Exodus. Even though I love and respect Exodus, I will go ahead and say they're not near my favorite in terms of the Bay Area bands. Like for me, it's Metallica and Testament. Exodus would be third for me, but doesn't take away from the fact they're a fantastic band and I do love them. But yeah, tracks like The Toxic Waltz is of course a thrash staple to this day. Last Act of Defiance, the title track, Corruption. Mwah. Yeah, so I got pretty much the classic era of Exodus now. Bonded by Blood, Pleasures of the Flesh, and Fabulous Disaster. Next up, we got an early 90s classic, and that's Faith No More, Angel Dust. Of course, this album, as well as The Real Thing, I will say are the 2 best Faith No More albums for me. And I would argue to say Angel Dust might be a little bit better than Real Thing, only because they're much more proggy, a little more avant-garde, a little more experimental on this album. And even going into like death metal territory with tracks like Jizz Lobber and especially Malpractice. Like, I would almost consider Malpractice to be like a prog death metal song because there are some cool growls on there. But yeah, Midlife Crisis being the big hit off of here. Crack Hitler, Kindergarten, Small Victory, Midnight Cowboy. It's like very bizarre, but really, really intricate and fun. So yeah, awesome album there. Now we got a triple pack, as I have now completed the discography of Hate Eternal. First we got King of All Kings, their second album. Maybe the best Hate Eternal album, possibly. Again, I'm not going to commit to that in case I decide to rank them. But yeah, this is fantastic work from Eric Rutan. Same going for the follow-up, I, Monarch. Now, this version, I actually replaced the case on this because the case I got it in whenever it came in the mail was fucked. But this version comes with the DVD, which has a live show from 2006, as well as an interview and behind the scenes at Mana Recording Studios. But, yeah, this case, it doesn't have, like, the DVD in it, but I have the DVD. It's in my, like, PS2, PS4, random DVD zip-up case that I keep. But, yeah, I, Monarch, especially the tracks Behold Judas, the Victorious Reign, and the title track. Fucking awesome shit right here. And then, finally, Fury and Flames. Of course, this album gets noted for Alex Webster from Cannibal Corpse doing the bass work. But yeah, more fucking fantastic stuff. Maybe the production, not the greatest, but hey, it's still a fantastic album. Next up, finally got a legendary EP that I've been wanting for a long time, and that's Mayhem Death Crush. Of course, on the back's the infamous Death Like Silence censor of Scott Burns, which, again, Euronymous, you're a fucking hypocrite. I don't care if you're dead. But anyways, this is a fantastic EP. Definitely, yeah, while the vocals from Maniac on here definitely has that black metal feel, musically it kind of has a little bit of death metal and grindcore in there. And again, goes to show Euronymous was into that stuff. before he decided to flip his lid for reasons. But yeah, even a cool cover of Venom's Witching Hour, but songs like the title track, Chainsaw, Guts Fuck, Necrolust, Pure Fucking Armageddon, this is just one of the best EPs of all time. Now, this one is kind of a rare one to find, and I managed to get this cheap from Bandcamp, and it's the 2016 reissue from Century Media of Morbid Saint, Spectrum of Death. And what's interesting about this reissue is that it has the album, but it also has their second album, Destruction System. So basically I got all of Morbid Saint in this one album, as well as extra recordings. But yeah, Spectrum of Death, an underground cult classic in the world of extreme thrash. And also this came with a poster of the album cover, which eventually, if I can get some better soundproofing and get the walls cleared, I can start putting posters and banners and flags up in the room or in the office. But anyways, yeah, Spectrum of Death, as well as their second album, Destruction System, all in one. So now the next one is actually a compilation, and a hell of a compilation indeed. Mythic Anthology. Now, I first heard about this band not too long ago after watching one of Necrotic Nick's from the Thralls of Metal do one of his CD collection updates, and he actually got this. And, well, not only because, look at those babes, all fucking hot, if it'll focus. Oh well. Not only are these chicks hot, but they're fucking good. Like, this is a short-lived, all-lady death doom band from the early 90s. And this is a compilation of their EP and their demos. And basically, top to bottom, I really liked this. Especially the first 3 tracks, which was from their EP. And this is almost like an amalgamation, and I think Necrotic Nick put it perfectly. This is like an amalgamation of like Incantation, Obituary, and early Paradise Lost. Like, it has a bit of like that gothic dreariness on top, but with some very heavy riffs. And even for a lady doing low gutturals, you wouldn't even be able to tell it sounded from a lady. Like, they sound like as if a man did it, which is impressive. Like, wow. But yeah, really talented band here, and man, it makes me wish they could have stuck around more and made more stuff. And I think they'd be a juggernaut in like Death Doom today. But next up, we got a recent release from the true pioneers of blackened death metal, Necrophobic with Mark of the Necrogram. Yeah, this one, 4 years ago it came out, 2018. I actually hadn't listened to this album, and then I got it. And so this one is significant because this is the first album with vocalist Anders Strohkirk since their massive debut, Nocturnal Silence. And he was on the new one, Dawn of the Damned, which I absolutely loved. Dawn of the Damned I thought was brilliant, one of my favorites from 2020. But yeah, Mark of the Necrogram, I have yet to listen to this entirely, but from what I've heard so far in the short time I've had it, really heavy stuff for sure. And of course, beautiful guitar work, and the vocals, just gross. Really cool right here. Next up, finally got a good copy and a cheap copy of this album from Nile, Those Whom the Gods Detest, 2009, Nuclear Blast Records. To me, Nile is a band that doesn't have a bad album. I do plan on getting their last 3 eventually, At the Gate of Cthulhu, What Should Not Be Unearthed, and Vile Nihilistic Rites, and then I'll have everything Nile, and eventually I'm going to have to rank Nile albums. But yeah, this one, I would say, is one of their more underrated releases. Songs like Kafir, Permitting the Noble Dead to Descend to the Underworld, Aura of Dagon, the title track, just crazy, brutal tech death with some great traditional death metal moments, and even little moments of doom. Fucking great stuff. Next up, I got another rare gem, and an underground gem at that, and that is Oppressor, Solstice of Oppression, the debut album from this Chicago-based tech death band. And what makes this album interesting to me when listening to it is that it almost sounds like a mix of Suffocation and like latter era Death, with little moments of like those soft, like almost jazzy parts from Cynic, perhaps. Like the vocals and the breakdowns are super low and heavy, and then you get like some cool melodies that kind of remind you a little bit of latter era Death with those like jazz moments from Cynic. But yeah, really cool stuff right here. Definitely another underrated gem, not just for tech death music, but death metal as a whole. Definitely check it out if you haven't already. Only a few left. Next up, actually the next two, finally completing the classic run of albums of Pantera. We got Great Southern Trendkill and Reinventing the Steel. Now, Great Southern Trendkill, I would say out of all of the Pantera albums from Cowboys from Hell through to Reinventing the Steel, that this one might be the most underrated one, because they really went all out in terms of heaviness and really getting extreme on some songs. Like especially Suicide Note Part 2, where it gets almost grindy. And also songs like Floods, which is just classic to this day. War Nerve, Drag the Waters, Tins. And even Suicide Note Part 1, which is like almost like a prog psychedelic tune, which is interesting. But yeah, Great Southern Trendkill. And then, of course, Reinventing the Steel. Now, I thought about getting the original version with the original album cover, which I don't know if... yeah, it's somewhere in here. But I decided to get their reissue of the album from 2020 because it's a 3-discer. Disc 1 is the Terry Date mix. Disc 2 is the original album but remastered. And then Disc 3 has like instrumental rough mixes as well as all the cover songs they've done, like Cat Scratch Fever, Hole in the Sky, Electric Funeral, and some bonus tracks. So yeah, and also I like how the cover, it looks like it's made out of metal, but it's still digipack. And just the packaging of it is really fucking cool, with the inside having all 4 members right there. Really sweet. And actually, there's the actual cover for you right there, for those who are wondering. But yeah, I was really happy to get this, and Great Southern Trendkill. So I think the only other Pantera album I'll go for eventually will be Power Metal, and then just skip the first 3. Anyways, we got 3 more albums left. Next up, I got Scour's debut EP, the Grey EP. And I gotta tell you, Scour is definitely a project that's taken me by surprise the more I listen to it. Phil Anselmo, ironically from Pantera, his black metal project, featuring current and former members of like Misery Index, as well as Cattle Decapitation and Pig Destroyer. Yeah, this is their debut EP. They got 2 more. I do plan on getting the other 2 EPs at some point, the Red and the Black EP. Especially the Black EP for that song Doom with Eric Rutan on lead guitars, and even Aquaman himself, Jason Momoa, doing death growls, which is what? But still, this is a hell of an EP. The song Dispatched, fucking evil heavy tune for sure. So yeah, definitely I hope to hear a full length from them before too long. The penultimate album in this collection update, we got Suffocation's Pinnacle of Bedlam, the special edition that comes with the DVD making of the album. And I will definitely say, in terms of like the comeback run of Suffocation from Souls to Denied to present day, this is hands down the best album of that run, with a close second being their self-titled, which I do plan on getting the self-titled at some point. But yeah, Pinnacle of Bedlam, fucking brutal tech death. Again, one of the pioneers of brutal death in general, right here with Suffocation. And then the final one, and this one was kind of interesting to find, cheap and in good shape, and as Vader, Ultimate Incantation, their debut album, 1992. And I'm trying to see, because the text is kind of blurred on this. I think this is the original release in 92. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that it is the original release from '92, not like the remastered stuff. But yeah, of course, Vader, one of the most consistent death metal bands going ever. And it's crazy to think how they started in '83, the same time that Death and Possessed did, but they were more classic metal, and then to thrash, and then eventually to death metal. And, I mean, Vader, what more can you say? And that does it for the 14th CD collection update. Like I said, I'm currently working on the next stack for episode 15 of this series. So glad you guys enjoy seeing what all I get in my ever-growing collection, which, yeah, it's almost looking time to get another shelf already. But, hey, what can you do, right? But anyways, what was your favorite album out of everything that I've shown in this update? Let me know in the comments section below. And until next time, horns high. See you guys in the next one.
At the ballpark. Someone's gonna put lasagna.
I took a tomato.
Okay, yeah, it's Levi. It's Levi.
Damn it.
I'm done. Could I?
I want to know what he got for this one.
Alright, Seth, let's go to Tomato Town.
I would like a single slice of your greatest tomatoes
I
in
would
the
like
park.
your finest tomato, please.
Calm down, Seth. Calm down, Seth. Calm down.
Somebody vote.
No, it's
Levi.
five is the
Levi's
max.
the one that has some
Levi is
votes.
the majority.
Yeah.
Oh
my
my
lord. That's breathe.
Oh.
Tomato. I'm gonna be really interested to see these prompts.
Yeah, like
Officer,
literally.
please escort me out of the ballpark. I just wanted to eat my tomato.